A 200-year-old lighting technology defined the look of early Hollywood films. Today, this technology is easy to come by and works beautifully, yet few take advantage of it. I'm talking about Fresnels, of course, which aren't lights. They're lenses which focus light, but filmmakers simply call them Fresnels. This Fresnel is very old, but I have a modern one that I'll be using for demonstration purposes. I'll explain how films were lit before LEDs took over the industry. If you want to know why movies today look radically different from ones filmed even only 30 years ago, this video's for you. In an age before digital cameras, lighting was very difficult and required a lot of expertise and guesswork. Cinematographers worked from small, grainy monitors and could only see a clear view of what the camera was capturing through a viewfinder. Veteran cinematographers in the 70s still retain their skills from when cameras didn't have viewfinders. Before 1936, cinematographers were working blind and had to physically shift the camera over to see what it was seeing. They relied on their instincts, using lights that were hot and power-hungry, making them difficult to handle and control. Old fixtures produced far less light per watt of electricity than modern ones, which is why pretty much all lights from that era have Fresnel lenses to focus light emitting from them. Fresnel lenses were famously used in 19th century lighthouses. Using clever optics, they allow the flame of a dim oil lamp to be seen by ships from miles away. Fresnels can aim light with surgical precision, and some have an adjustable beam for different kinds of effects. Though the light produced with Fresnels is beautiful, they pretty much disappeared from the sets of indie films in the early 2010s as fluorescent lights and LEDs took over. When indie filmmakers moved on to bigger and better projects, they brought equipment from low-budget films with them. Suddenly, lighting in movies and TV shows became soft and boring. Today's viewers hate the look of contemporary films, but don't have the technical knowledge to articulate why lighting in today's movies looks soulless. As I've said before, the main difference is a lack of hard light, the kind of light Fresnels excel at creating. This is a modern Fresnel lens, an inexpensive accessory that can be purchased for most LED mono lights on the market. It's big and heavy, made of solid glass, and the cheap stand mine is on can barely support its weight. Its 30-year-old counterpart is much smaller, as it's only a 300-watt Fresnel. Fresnels came in a variety of different sizes corresponding to how much power they used. Cinematographers couldn't dim them without changing the color of the light they emitted, so they put metal screens in front of the lights to reduce their output, or chose to use a smaller or larger Fresnel. The incandescent bulbs in them were very temperamental, requiring special training to handle. This is why I will not be turning this unit on. I could get burned, start a fire, or cause the bulb to explode by merely touching it and leaving oily fingerprints on it. This modern LED fixture with an attached Fresnel emits a comparable quality of light and functions very similarly. While there are other ways of producing hard light with modern fixtures, no other method I know of can produce the crisp shadows Fresnels produce. With focusing Fresnels, ones with an adjustable beam angle, cinematographers can finely tune the quality of light emitted to mimic the hard shadows created by daylight or moonlight. This is how I made the shadow of the blinds coming through the window in this room. Though I film at night, it looks somewhat bright and cheery in my studio, and this would be hard to achieve with other types of LED fixtures. This daylight-like effect was impossible to pull off with LED fixtures in the early 2010s. The LED lights filmmakers used back then were panels like this one, with the individual diodes exposed to the elements. A translucent sheet could be placed over the panel to create soft light, but to my knowledge, they had no way of focusing the LED light to create hard light. Without incandescents or other types of power-hungry fixtures, it was impossible to render crisp shadows and high-contrast scenes. Unlike LEDs, incandescent light bulbs can emit very bright light from a small point source, created by a glowing tungsten wire called a filament. In my understanding, creating a very bright point of light is still not possible even with today's LED technology, which is why modern Fresnels focus light from a very compact LED chip instead of a true point source. Though this creates light that's softer than the kind coming from incandescent Fresnels, it looks crisp enough for HD video, and filmmakers should take advantage of this kind of light fixture if they can. Unfortunately, most new filmmakers, including myself, learn their skills from YouTube, and there's a lot of industry knowledge and tools that aren't widely seen in online tutorials. Today's videographers primarily use cheap light with softboxes attached to them. We mount them on flimsy stands called C-stands, and for most applications, this is good enough. This is how all photographers light their portraits, and it yields great results, which is why everyone does it. This works well for YouTube, but looks quite bad in short films and other indie productions. Soft portrait lighting is boring, and for narrative film, there are many tools that are completely ignored. Fresnels are new to younger filmmakers like myself, and they are not being used nearly enough despite being versatile and powerful. It's about time we embrace them and start thinking outside the softbox for once, especially because there was a time where there were little to no softboxes used in filmmaking. The ones that did exist trapped lots of heat from old tungsten lights, which is why they were more commonly used for photography. Cinematographers used Fresnels instead, often with minimal diffusion, producing the crisp shadows audiences today long for, as we rarely see them on screen in newer films. If they wanted soft light, they bounced light off white surfaces or placed Fresnels behind translucent fabric. Armed with a Fresnel and some white walls, it's quite easy to take advantage of these old techniques in a small home studio. It's certainly better than tripping over a million softboxes. There is only one softbox used in my lighting setup. I created most of the ambient soft light filling this room by bouncing light off the walls and ceilings. This allows me to create light that is softer than even my largest softbox, which is only 4 feet tall. A light shined on a 6-foot section of wall behaves similarly to a 6-foot wide softbox, a bulky light modifier that would not fit in this room. If you notice, I'm not using Fresnels. Instead, I'm using reflectors on my lights that serve a similar purpose, allowing me to control the spread of light, albeit with significantly less precision. The included reflector that comes with most mono lights is a great tool for bouncing light in this manner. Back in the day, this was an essential skill that every cinematographer had in their arsenal. Cinematographers would bring sheets of white foam board wherever they went as surfaces to bounce light off of. They'd clamp them onto stands and bounce light from a Fresnel off them. This is not ideal because light can spill everywhere, especially onto the background, which should be lit separately from the subject. It's possible to combat this by using the barn doors on the side of the Fresnel to prevent light from illuminating parts of the set that should remain in darkness. It's also possible to increase contrast in a shot by throwing black moving blankets over white walls and floors to absorb light that would otherwise bounce off these surfaces. On small sets, these strategies are common, but in large sound stages, there's room to set up what's called a diffusion frame. It's basically a white bed sheet that cinematographers shine powerful lights through. This allows you to create light that is much softer than bounced light alone. When placed in front of light bounced off a white surface, cinematographers can create the softest, most flattering light imaginable that works well for commercials and interviews. There are a multitude of ways for cinematographers to produce the exact spread and quality of light required for a given shot. Just like with softboxes, a black grid can be fitted over the diffusion frame to control the spread of light. Unlike with stuffy enclosed softboxes though, it's child's play to create bright light, as there's enough open air behind the fabric to use as many hot and powerful lights as necessary. Very soft, bright light creates a look that is distinct to high-budget productions, which commonly use massive all-in-one LED soft light fixtures such as RE Sky panels to accomplish this effect with ease. Us YouTubers can't afford $16,000 lights, but there are other ways to make our videos look expensive. A white shower curtain with a Fresnel shining through it is one trick to create flattering soft light. It's hard to beat the convenience of a softbox though. It's easy to get caught up in the world of expensive equipment, but the most useful item I purchased this year for my lighting setup was a book. Lighting for Cinematography explains some easy strategies that allowed me to marginally improve my setup without spending $4,000 on a new camera. Dialing in my lighting allows me to get an acceptable image filming in compressed Rec. 709 on a 10-year-old camera. Nailing exposure, white balance, and contrast ratios in camera saves a lot of time that would otherwise be spent trying to recover a crappy shot when color grading it. Because I'm inexperienced, I rely on one essential tool that I leave hanging from a C-stand in my studio. This light meter can measure the brightness of a scene and provide camera settings to achieve scientifically perfect exposure. I stole mine from my uncle, and even though it's 30 years old, it works flawlessly. When placed underneath the chin of a subject, it ensures faithful reproduction of their skin tone on camera. I used to do what everyone else does, film in log and dial in the exposure in post, which works all right, but is a waste of time. Why not just get it right the first time? It's worth remembering that getting a perfect image right out of camera used to be the only option. In the days of film, long before the advent of high-definition color-accurate monitors, cinematographers relied on sophisticated instruments including light meters to nail exposure and white balance. Today, nobody uses these tools, even though they absolutely should. While this video was supposed to be about Fresnels, it has thoroughly devolved into a broader discussion about how so much industry knowledge has disappeared along with older equipment in Hollywood. In my last video about lighting, many industry professionals with decades of experience seem to agree with that sentiment. I'm not a cinematographer, and this is not a cinematography channel. I just have intense hyperfixations, and sometimes I wonder why nobody else is buying old books on eBay with simple prose and lots of pictures if they're curious about a subject. It's very important to engage with instructional material made by experts sometimes, in addition to watching informative videos made to entertain you here on YouTube. Experts rarely have YouTube channels, and industry pros like the Dapper Gaffer are too busy being employed to make freely available videos for us peasants. Even though I'm just a commentary YouTuber, I hope this video was enjoyable and that you'll check out my other videos. I'm Robert Tolpe, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye!